Get in, nerds. We are playing Victoria 3. As you might have guessed, we had ourselves a little bit of a crash at the end of last episode, but this is basically where we were with these four events. So, yeah, I'm just going to get started with them and we'll see how things go. I'm going to go from most to least well-known by me. So we'll start with Cossack patrol attacked. A detachment of Siberian Cossacks in Kenesary has been ambushed and slaughtered by a band of rebel Kazakh horsemen flying the banner of Kenesary Qasymuly. Everywhere there is disorder. It comes partly from an unforgivable oversight and partly of the cowardice of the Cossacks, who vainly try to inflate the warring forces in words to justify to some extent their condemnable carelessness. I can provide some recompense to the Aga Sultan for the caravan, which reduces their liberty desire at the cost of bureaucracy and cash, or I can say it's the responsibility of the Kazakhs to secure their own land, which gives bigger penalties to Kichi's Juz and increases their liberty desire by 15, but doesn't provide me any penalties. I'm going to do the first one. We'll just go ahead and knock that right out. I don't want to let any of these countries get too much liberty desire. We're trying to keep that liberty desire low so that we can keep a handle on all our stuff. Keeping liberty desire and subject opinion high is very important for my power block, because that's part of what's controlling how strong how cohesive my power block can be. Having high cohesion is good. Yeah, we get leverage generation and mandate progress faster for having a very cohesive power block. So that's why I keep focusing on that, among other reasons. So, next we have an Exile at the Gates. The relatively lenient Russian immigration system has long been attractive to those fleeing their home nations. Recently, Alexander Zavoyko has petitioned to join the stream of people moving to Russia. It was one in a very, very long list. It was one name on a very, very long list. One that had passed through multiple layers of bureaucracy before being noticed. One fateful day, however, one clerk, at the end of his shift, pointed to the name and spoke those fatal words. I could have sworn I've heard of him before. Didn't this guy already leave the country? Eventually, Alexander Zavoyko too will be Russian. He's already Russian. He's Russian. He becomes employed in Russia, or will not have someone like this. I think it's fine if he joins the country. He'll probably just leave again. That'll be fine. I won't be at all bothered by that. In fact, I'll be tickled pink. Next we've got Spread Thin. The limited political resources of the intelligentsia have made the group's leadership question its membership in both the Anti-French League and the Russian-Prussian Fellowship. And for office supplies on average, the auditor turned a page to the relevant entry and ran his eyes down the column, 300 crowns per month. For the man who sat across from him, the world was beginning to spin. You're certain? And 1,200 for work-related travel expenses. Excuse me, he managed. Could I get a copy of the manifest? I need to meet with my colleagues at once. There's no reason for them to remain in the Anti-French League. So that causes them to leave the Anti-French League, or membership in the Russian-Prussian Fellowship is no longer useful. Causes them to leave the Russian-Prussian Fellowship, or abandoning either would be unwise. This just makes them weaker. I do like weakening the intelligentsia, but I want them to leave the Anti-French League, because I like the French. Perfect. That should improve their opinion. Yes, and it did quite a bit. Lovely. Do we still have an Anti-French League? Yes, the church earned it. Gosh darn it. But that's alright. Alright, Undeserved Blame, finally. Event number 4. Some Russian people are unfairly blaming the living conditions in Kolyma on their Siberian neighbors. They say we have taken all the jobs that make it impossible for them to earn a fair wage, but we suffer just as much as them. We must learn to live together. This costs us authority, or we can ignore it. I'm going to ignore it. It's not great, but I can't live without my authority. I need to keep my interest groups happy. So, and by keep my interest groups happy, I mean money. So I think from here, still improving relations with Persia. I got a lot of excess influence, but I'm still having infamy decay. And extra influence gives me extra infamy decay, so I'm not really worried about that. We're rapidly moving towards the pacification of the steppes event kicking off. So we'll kick that off. Movement to enact tenant farmers. Same thing's going to happen as before, probably. If I put... So Zavoico aligns with the Orthodox Church. I could potentially make that happen if I move the church into the government and replace him as the leader. But I'm not necessarily looking for a reformist agenda at this stage of the game. We do have... Just quickly... Okay, we have steel mills in operation at this point. So I'm going to grab some of our tooling workshops and flip them over to steel tools. Just a few at the moment, because the steel mills are not quite fully in operation yet. But as that gets going... Yeah, here we go. So this should get started reasonably quickly. Okay, it's going. It's getting there. We're also about to bring a couple more steel mills into operation. Wow. They're really not hiring as fast as I would like. Yeah, here we go. Alright, they're going. Now they're going. They're going properly. Oh, and we have access to sulfite piping. That's going to cost us 10 sulfur per paper mill, which is 150 sulfur. Have we got 150 sulfur in this customs union? Hardly any, actually. Have we got sulfur mines? Let's start with that. Not really. You can build a few. Kursk has some sulfur mine capacity. Astrakhan has some sulfur mine capacity. Build 2 each in Astrakhan and Kursk. Actually, no. 2 each in Astrakhan and Samara. And that should produce a good amount of sulfur to get started with. Let's go ahead and put them right at the bottom of the munitions plants, I think, is the right way to go about this. And then we'll get that going. Alright, how's the steel situation kicking around? Steel is good to go. So let's grab the rest of our tooling workshops. Let me see, most of these are on steel tools already, except for the ones in Moscow. So we'll put those ones onto steel as well, and the ones in Minsk as well. Full steel production. That'll be just fine. Just fine. Again, we're having a steel shortage. It looks like steel production may have gone down. Not quite sure why that happened, but, you know, don't love it. Okay, but it's still continuing to go up. We got 4 levels of steel mills, and steel mills each have a productive capacity of 65. So that gives us a total production of, like, 220, and we've got a total need of 214. So I think they're eventually going to get there. It's just going to take some time for them to sort themselves out. Alright. We are still continuing to build up our munitions plants. I'm going to increase the speed here. I'm going to speed 4. I'll rush through it, but alright. Slowly, we're getting there. Getting to where we want to be. We're also slowly getting to where we want to be with Persia, which will be nice, because, again, once we're past -20, we'll go from cold to neutral, or whatever it's called. Neutral, yeah. And then that will improve the rate at which their liberty desire goes down, which is very good. Actually, their liberty desire is quite low already, which is radical. Super duper pleased with that. Maybe we'll turn them into a puppet, who knows. 6 months for Ortajuz and Kishijuz. And we're having another failed incursion event. Now this one into Circassia. An incursion we've launched from Kuban